Welcome back. Today we're going to make cauliflower shepherd's pie. So I already browned a pound of ground beef. You can use any type of ground meat that you want, ground turkey, ground chicken. I use grass-fed beef because my parents have a beef ranch, so it's readily available to me. And then we're going to slice up about 3 cups of mushrooms. So I have some white mushrooms. You can use whatever type of mushrooms you prefer. Set them aside. Perfect. And next I have an onion. So I'm going to show you my favorite way to cut up an onion, and it's a whole lot easier than what I used to do. So hopefully you'll find it useful. So I just cut off the end. And you can save that for compost or throw it in a beef stock or bone broth. And then I cut it in half. And then that's when I peel off that outer edge. It's easier then. And then, so you want to leave the root end on the onion. And then from that end, you just make slits all the way across. You can do that to both sides. So we're going to use the full onion in this recipe. Onions add a really nice flavor to dishes, and they're great for your health as well. And then you just want to take the knife and just be careful with your fingers and slide it lengthwise across, just to make those pieces smaller. And then the last step is you want your fingers to butt up against the knife so that you're not cutting them. So you can see like that, and just slice it into little pieces. You always want to use a sharp knife. A dull knife is when we start to, that's where people cut themselves, because they're having to work harder to get that same cut. And then you never want to drag your sharp end of your knife across the cutting board because that dulls it. So I always flip it over and slide the whatever I was cutting off to the end. Next we have celery. The recipe called for 2 stalks of celery, but I really like celery, so I'm going to add 3. And I always cut it in half lengthwise, so it's a little bit smaller. And then again, that same dicing action. You're kind of just rolling your knife, being mindful of your fingers. The closer you actually keep them to the knife, the safer it is. Okay, one more. I am just going to toss this onion and celery in with the beef and let that start cooking while I chop up some carrots. And next, we have 2 carrots that are gonna go in the recipe. So I always just cut off the ends. I don't peel my carrots because there are nutrients in the peel, so I usually just leave them on. I also find buying organic carrots is probably the best bet, and I find that they just taste different. The other carrots kind of taste like chemicals to me. So what I did was cut it in half and then in half again, and then in quarters. So it's a little bit smaller pieces and not like huge chunks of carrot in your shepherd pie. And last one. And there we have our carrots. So we will add those with the beef, onions, and celery as well, and get those all cooked up. We're also going to add 2 cloves of garlic to the beef mixture. So I like to pick the biggest 2 because I like lots of garlic in my recipes. And then to peel them really easy, you just take your knife and use the flat side and kind of smush the garlic with your hand. And it's a lot easier to get the peel off. Like so. And then I do some like similar cutting process as with the onion. So having that one side that has like the root of it where it is, and slicing along it like I did with the onion, and then inserting the knife. So they're nice and small pieces when you cut them up. This one. And then you may need to go through and just like give it a rough chop again, so then it's nice and fine. And then we'll add that in with the beef mixture. So I have the beef mixture here with the carrots, celery, and onion. It's almost done cooking, but I'm just gonna add in a tablespoon of Italian seasoning and a bit of salt. I never actually measure my salt, I just kind of eyeball it, so this is what I do. It should be about a 1/4 teaspoon, so that's what I do. With sea salt. And then we're gonna stir that back up, let that cook a little bit more. I also have our cauliflower steaming, so it's ready to go for on top once this is finished. And we're gonna cook the mushrooms separately because my frying pan isn't big enough. So it's quite a bit of vegetable that's in this meal. So just to give the mushrooms a little bit more room, we're just gonna cook them after we finish with this. So this mixture's done, so I'm gonna pour this in my casserole dish. You can see it's quite full already, and we still have lots to go in there. So you might want to use a little bit bigger of a casserole dish than my 9x9, but gotta make it work. And then just set that off to the side. And then I'm gonna cook the mushrooms. So they'll cook down quite a bit, so there'll be more room in the casserole dish. And I'm just gonna warm up a tablespoon of olive oil. And this is my favorite brand, Tessa Delicia, I believe how it's pronounced. I like it because it is cold pressed and it's virgin. So is a higher quality, and you want to use a low to medium heat when you're using any olive oil. We're just gonna warm that up and then pour the mushrooms in and get that started. So I have the mushrooms cooked, so I'm just gonna add them on top of the other beef mixture. If you have a bigger pan than me, you can make them all in one, or stir them together, but I'm just gonna layer it. So we have that. And then I have the steamed cauliflower in my food processor, and I'm just going to add a tablespoon of the olive oil to that, just to make it a little creamier. You can also use butter if you tolerate dairy well. So that's done processing, so we're going to layer the mashed cauliflower on top of the dish. I like to use a spatula, so it's just easier to remove from the food processor. Mashed cauliflower is really good on its own too, if you're not putting it on shepherd's pie. Spread it around so it evenly covers. So have the cauliflower all spread evenly across the shepherd's pie. We're going to pop that in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to turn the oven to broil and just brown the top a little bit for 10 minutes. And so the shepherd's pie is finished out of the oven, and if you leave it in 30 seconds longer, it gets a little dark around the edges where I had extra cauliflower, but it still tastes amazing, and it's ready to serve, so I hope you enjoy. Welcome back. I don't know what to say. Okay. Then you don't also want to heat olive oil. You don't ever want to heat olive oil over a high heat because it actually damages the oil. So you want to stick to a low to medium heat when you're using olive oil.